Saturday, June 8th, it is Rock Hunger 7, a concert to benefit Nutley Family Service Bureau. And this morning here on Jersey Magazine, we have with us the president of the Board of Trustees. He is Dave Popkin. Dave, good morning and welcome.
Jim, appreciate you having me, and always good to chat with you.
Looking forward to talking with you this morning. Tell us about Hunger 7 for starters.
Well, I was a casual donor to Nutley Family Service Bureau about 8 years ago when the executive director grabbed me by the ear and dragged me into her office and said, "Hey, who are you? How else can you help me? I need you to be involved." And I said, "Well, what do you need?" And her name was Eileen Painter, and she said that I need to get younger. I need more volunteers. I need more publicity. I just need more, like more people involved in the organization. We're growing. So I said, "How about a rock concert? And I'll put it on for free." And she said, "You're hired." So we gathered three acts that first year at the Old Canal Inn in Nutley and did a concert, raised a few $1,000s, and it's continued to grow. This year we're trying to raise $15,000 for the food pantry because of the increased need, and it's a great lineup, and it's a labor of love for me.
It's kind of like hey, let's put on a show. Mom can make the costumes, dad can build the stage.
Pretty much. I mean, the first band that played, and they've played every time since, now my old band, but back then it was my only band called The Attic. It was my brother-in-law, his cousin, like that kind of thing, my chiropractor. We just got together and did it, and it was so much fun, and it's become a thing in town, and we get 200-300 people, and it's a fun outdoor music festival.
That sounds like a combination of the Beach Boys and the Cowsills with the family effect going on there.
Pretty much.
How many bands do you have lined up for this year's event?
We have four. You would love the headliner, Mother Hubbard, because they're from the William Patterson Jazz Program, most of them. They're all Jersey guys, some of them from Nutley in particular, and they kind of sound like Steely Dan, and they have a record coming out this year. So they're very good. They played last year. And then we have Sticky Wickets. They've been around Nutley since they graduated from Nutley High School in like 1982 or something like that. So they're local favorites. The Attic I mentioned will play again. And then my current group, Porch Rockers, which is like pop punk and new wave, like Ramones and that kind of thing, will play again. So it's about 4.5 hours of music for $25.
And you're double duty in two bands, right?
Yeah, I'll probably guest with one or two of the others, and I sing lead for Porch Rockers. So it's a busy day, and then I'll get up and do my spiel for the president of the organization and tell people why they're there.
Tell us more about the Nutley Family Service Bureau and some of the other things that they do, Dave.
We've only been around for 111 years, and have had pretty similar goals and mission since then. We try to, well, we have over 1,000 mental health sessions a month. We do a food pantry for over 300 households and over 615 individuals from Nutley, but also some surrounding towns. Last month, the increase was 15% month over month in terms of the food pantry demand because of pandemic programs sunsetting and because of inflation. So we gave out over 1,800 bags of food. So we need food and we need money to feed people. So that is, a big part of what we do. And then once we get people into the pantry, we have case management so that we can connect them to other social services, maybe reduced rent somewhere or help with their power bills or Medicare, Medicaid, things like that. So it's been a vital part of our town for a long time. We have over 150 volunteers that help out in a thrift store that raises money for all of our programs. We have a little, campus of a couple buildings right in the center of town near Town Hall. And people refer to us, and we just try to help as many of our neighbors as we can.
Food insecurity has been a topic here in New Jersey for a long time. And obviously, it comes up, you think of it around the holidays time as we get closer to Thanksgiving, but it is an ongoing thing here in the New Jersey as well as around the country. And I think, especially here in New Jersey, Dave, you look at the area that you and I live in, and this is a very affluent part of the country, and we don't think of food insecurity hitting us. And yet it's in every town, no matter how wealthy it may or may not be.
And what I've learned through this is that everybody is there for a different reason. Maybe their breadwinner in the family passed away, or maybe they're new to this country, or maybe they're just making minimum wage and they can't get by. Maybe they're, underemployed. Maybe they have depression, like you name it. Like there's a million reasons why people could need help, either short or long term. And whatever town you live in. And we're seeing it, in Nutley and Belleville and Bloomfield, like all the towns around here. And we're trying to help as many of these folks as we can. But it's been a real problem. And, somebody that you've known over the years, Bill Ayers at Why Hunger, Bruce Springsteen, people like that have been a real inspiration for me. And it's become a cause that's near and dear to my heart. So I put in, as they say, a lot of time, talent, and treasure to the organization because nobody in this country should go hungry.
We mentioned that this is Rock Hunger 7, the concert that's coming up in Nutley on Saturday, June 8th. If somebody wanted to do a Rock Hunger show in their own town, how would they go about doing that, Dave?
They would call me. They would go to rock-hunger.com to get all the information. I'll basically give anybody the template that wants to do it. We have a small fee that covers the designers of like posters and stuff like that because we have a template for Rock Hunger that we can hand to anybody's food pantry, food bank, anything like that where you're raising money for that cause. I will give my time to it and help you book the bands, book the venue, and try to expand this because it's a concept that works. We generally raise over $10,000 on this event. And for a food pantry, that's a lot of money. It can buy a lot of dry goods or produce, things like that. So it's proof of concept, right? It's worked for us now for 7 years, and I would love to expand it into some other towns in the area.
On a side note, Dave Popkin and I have known each other, it's 25 years now, right?
I think that's about right.
We worked together with the Newark Bears in Newark in the Atlantic League. They were at least in the Atlantic League at that time before eventually folding. And if you're watching on video, you can see all of the sports memorabilia and the baseballs in Dave's background. You have a wide variety of sports broadcasting background in addition to the work that you and I did with the Newark Bears. You are, I think, have done 8 different sports. Is that correct?
I think over a dozen at this point because when they ask, I just say yes because at this point at our age, it's a mental challenge for me. I say, okay, bowling, yes, I'll do it. Like swimming and diving, I did that for NJIT in the last year or so. I know nothing about swimming and diving. I just kind of called it like a horse race. It was play by play, and I just went for it. So it's like a deep dive, no pun intended, on something like that to learn as much as you can about the terminology and the participants. But yeah, baseball, basketball, football, those are soccer, some of my main sports, but I've done lacrosse and all kinds of wacky stuff. My first gig ever was doing sidelines on a lifeguard tournament in Seagirt, New Jersey.
Easiest sport for you to call, what would it be?
Oh God, I think basketball at this point because it's right in front of you. And I do so many of those games now. I've kind of turned the corner. Like baseball, my first love. I mean, you and I, called a lot of games together, and baseball, was my first love. I just, it's in my bones. I can literally sit down and score a game and call a game and not even think about it. It's like one of those 10,000 hours Malcolm Gladwell things. But basketball, I think, is easiest for me now because I'm in such a groove. This year I did 54 games. I'm very grateful that people want to hire me for that stuff, including Seton Hall.
Hardest sport for you to call?
Hockey. I've only done one hockey game. It was on TV. I can never imagine doing hockey on the radio. Kenny Albert, who I'm friendly with, says that's the easiest for him because you don't have time to do anything else except call where the puck is.
Kenny is actually the reason I asked you the question because he told me the same thing. It was hockey. He'd grown up watching hockey, and for him, it's the easiest. And I think it would be the hardest. I've never called it, but with the line changes and everything, I can't imagine trying to keep track of all of that.
It's the hardest. The only thing that was comparable that I think was just as hard or harder was indoor lacrosse because it moves fast like hockey, but it's kind of hard to see the players' numbers. They're all, hammering on each other, and it's very physical. Uh, and I did that one on the radio one time with Tina Cervasio many years
Wow.
ago, and it was hard.
You mentioned college basketball. Seton Hall, you've broadcast their games for a number of years, had a marvelous run, ultimately winning the NIT. What was that like?
It was my favorite moment broadcasting, certainly broadcasting sports. The NIT final at Hinkle Fieldhouse against Indiana State. So it was essentially a home game for them. It was 99% Columbia Blue for Indiana State, the Sycamores, and Seton Hall won a very close game in the last minute. And Gary Cohen, who I do the games with, the Mets announcer, was away doing the Mets. So I got to do play-by-play of the semis and the finals out at Hinkle. And it was electric. It was really a high point for me. And I was happy for those guys because they got snubbed. They were supposed to make the NCAA tournament. There were 5 bid stealers on that final weekend that won their conference tournaments that weren't supposed to. So Seton Hall got left out along with St. John's and Providence and some other Big East teams. And they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. And once they got through that first game against St. Joseph's, they just cruised all the way to the final and then won a close game. So I was really excited. And then all the alums and the players and everybody were celebrating afterwards. So it was fun to be out there with them.
One more time for WDHA and WM2, our listeners who want to learn more about the Rock Hunger Concert 7 that's coming to Nutley on June 8th, Saturday, June 8th. Where can they go, Dave?
They can go to nutleyfamily.org. There are sponsorships and tickets available there. The tickets are only $25. Goes right to the pantry to a great cause. Mother Hubbard, Porch Rockers, The Attic, and the Sticky Wickets. A lot of these bands have played for many years in the area bars. They're a lot of fun. And we hope that people can join us. And I appreciate, your exposure that you're giving us and all the time.
Dave, thank you for your time and best of luck with this year's event.
Appreciate it, Jim. Thanks.